Hi, this is Bill Culhane along with Stephen Hetzel from BidPrime. Building a Stronger America. President Trump finally came out with his infrastructure initiative. Stephen and I, back in front of the camera, are going to talk about the 6 key principles that President Trump laid out, and we're going to focus on the first 3 of them. So, Stephen, let's start with the first principle. And obviously, we all know that there is money, there is investment involved in getting the American infrastructure fixed. What kind of dollar figures do you see coming out of the plan?
Well, the plan was billed as a $1.5 trillion plan, which actually on release and breaking it down, it looks more like $200 billion, which would come from the federal government, and $1.3 trillion in sum that would, with all the strings attached, come from the state and local side.
Oftentimes, and it's been laid out before, it's been well chronicled that rural America too often gets left out. When we saw the initial draft of the infrastructure plan, rural broadband was mentioned. But in looking at this plan, it looks like maybe there's more to it than just rural broadband.
Well, there were a few different bullet points under the Rural Block Grant Program, which is a $50 billion program. It had fewer strings attached than some of the other aspects of the plan. It looks like broadband was a small part of that, but most of it is for roads and infrastructure traveling between areas that would not be able to fund those projects from state and local taxes.
As I continue to look at the BidPrime database, we know this, that in terms of addressing U.S. infrastructure, there have been bid requests, government contracts, RFPs coming through the pipeline for months, for years. So it'll be interesting to see what happens once this infrastructure plan is approved. But I think you agree, one key point is that President Trump specifically addresses that decision-making authority is going to go from the federal to the state and local level.
Right, that's something that many clients are asking us right now, is to see where are these bids going to come from if they came out, if this plan actually comes to fruition, which we keep adding that to it. It would be not traditionally issued through Fed BizOps that typically host this information. It would come from state and local governments through the standard portals that states, cities, municipalities, counties, etc. traditionally issue their bids.
So what I gather then is that these various bids, RFPs, and when I say various, I mean many, will be housed, will be published from many disparate entities.
Right, and state and local market's already very fragmented. That's what BidPrime does, is we solve that issue. We capture all this fragmented data from multiple cities, counties, governments, from over 110,000 entities to capture this information to a single source. So that's something that would be posted on BidPrime. I know we'll capture it. It'll be posted on many of the local government websites, state portals, anything out there that is bids typically come through.
Jonathan Swan from Axiom first released the leaked draft of the infrastructure plan. I mentioned in the first video that we did in this series, what was it? Kevin and I did it about a month ago. The Transformative Projects Program. Maybe because of the name, but that caught my eye. What is that?
It's something that stuck out to me too. I know it could be
great minds think alike.
Well, there's a lot of speculation about where the funding would go, and it could be tunnels, dams, things of national significance. I think the projects that lift the American spirit, next century type infrastructure, which my question is, I'm always hoping to see a Hyperloop or seeing some government funding for such a venture. And I don't know if this plan will have that, but that would be interesting to see. There are probably a lot of other imaginative things that we could think of too.
Speaking of imaginative, hopefully the powers to be will find a way to get an actual plan approved and put in place. I will tell you this, that when it does happen, and I said when, not if, when it happens, Stephen and I will be right back here in front of the BidPrime camera to let you know how it affects you and your business. On behalf of everyone at BidPrime, all the best in growing your business.